turn, I'm going to introduce Gail, our founder of Bronx Eats. So Gail Schorsch is the founder and director of Bronx Eats. She's an educator and food activist who has lived in the Bronx since 2003. She earned a Master's of Science in Organizational Leadership from Lehman College in 2018. Gail also served as the site coordinator for Corbin Hill Food Project's Farm Share at Lehman College for many years before founding Bronx Eats. She is passionate about urban farming, green markets, and improving access to fresh food in high-need Bronx neighborhoods. So welcome, everyone, and welcome, Gail.
Thank you so much. So glad to be here. Welcome, everybody. It's really a pleasure to be partnering this evening with Bronx Council for the Arts. I'll give a quick intro to Bronx Eats, and then I will introduce the chef who will be presenting an amazing three-way avocado recipe to all of you this evening. So Bronx Eats offers plant-based cooking classes free of charge and seeks to change the food landscape in the Bronx so that access to fresh, affordable, and nourishing food is not limited by your income, race, or neighborhood. Everyone depends on access to a healthy food environment to experience physical and mental health and to have the energy to live up to his or her potential. The food system needs to work for everyone. So Bronx Eats is also here to make sure that Bronxites know how to cook healthy plant-based meals so that we can prepare healthy, delicious meals for ourselves and our families that nourish our whole selves. We hope that you will join us for future classes. We all need to eat more real plant-based food during our day to reverse chronic disease and to maintain our health. So please sign up for our newsletter at bronxeats.org. And with that, I'm really thrilled to be able to introduce a wonderful chef. Chef Ifra Ruiz has agreed to join us this evening. Ifra was born in the Dominican Republic and is a Latinx community organizer for Plant Powered Metro New York. She learned about whole food plant-based nutrition from watching the documentary Forks Over Knives in 2012, and she gradually adopted this way of eating. She comes from a family with many chronic diseases, and she didn't want to be another statistic. After seeing the changes in her health with whole food plant-based nutrition and experiencing some challenges maintaining this lifestyle, she changed her career from finance to nutrition coaching to help people transition to a whole food plant-based lifestyle and to bring this message especially to the Latinx community. Ifra has served as a plant-based nutrition coach and done the Somos 10-day plant-based jumpstart coaching as a lead coach, and later became the project manager for the program. Her passion is to empower people to regain their health through plant-based nutrition and healthy habits, and sharing this lifestyle with the Latinx community. She has a plant-based nutrition certification from the T. Colin Campbell Center for Nutrition Studies at Cornell. She also completed studies as a nutrition coach at Precision Nutrition L1 and personal trainer at the International Sports Science Association. Currently, she is doing the Lifestyle Medicine for Coaches course by the American College of Lifestyle Medicine. When she is not cooking plant-based food, volunteering, or dancing in her kitchen, she works out, does yoga, and enjoys nature. Welcome, Chef Ifra. We're so glad you're here tonight. And please show us your amazing recipes.
Thank you, Gail, and thank you, everyone, and thank you for having me. So you are in my kitchen, and I love cooking, and I love being in my kitchen. So today I bring to you avocados. I'm Dominican, and I grew up eating avocados. That's something we eat in the morning, for lunch, for dinner. But the thing is, when we eat avocado, which like pan con aguacate, we eat that with white bread. We put eggs and onions. And for me, putting all these ingredients in my avocado toast is a way to elevate and make it more nutritious. So let's start. So let's do first, I'm gonna put my bread. Most of the time we use a white bread, mostly like kind of baguette. We call it pan de agua. And And now that I'm plant-based and I'm living in United States, I use whole wheat. This is a sprouted whole wheat. And also I use sourdough. For me, when you do the avocado toast in a sourdough, it tastes more better, and the sourdough hold all the ingredients better together. But this time we're gonna do it with this one that I have in my house. The key is just toast the bread, maybe power 3, like as brown as you can. So I'm gonna put it here. And while this is toasting, the first recipe that I'm gonna do is Mediterranean flavor. Why? Because when I moved to New York, I came with this a city which is full of diversity and a lot of food. So when I moved here, I started to incorporate my Latin background with all these new cultures that I went eating. Like I went to an Asian restaurant. I was like, oh, I'm in love with the tofu. So how can I incorporate this in my kitchen? So that's the idea in my avocado toast. So the first one is just Mediterranean ingredients. So you know Mediterranean, they use a lot of chickpeas. Chickpeas are a good kind of fiber. They are legumes. They have they put good bacteria in your gut. So and it's a sort of protein if you don't eat animal protein. So we're gonna incorporate this in our avocado toast. The recipe called for half a cup. Most of the time I cook by eye. So we're gonna do half a cup. And then we're gonna put like a little bit of onions, so red onions. This is the way I cut the onion to make like small pieces of the onion. I don't know if you can see it.
Yeah, this is a great trick for dicing what she's doing.
Yeah, for dicing, yes. So after that, I just go. The recipe called for half an onion. So we're gonna
If people have questions while Chef Ifra is showing us this, please put it in the chat box, or you can unmute yourself since we're a small group and ask your question directly.
Perfect. So if you really like onions raw, you can put as much onion as you want to. So I'm gonna just put it like this because this is gonna be my dinner here, and my son is gonna eat that, and he's no fan of the onions. So once I have this very toast, like I don't know if you can hear. So we're gonna do. Let me put it here. We're gonna finish the meats. We're gonna add in this Mediterranean diet. They use feta cheese. So instead of using feta cheese, I'm gonna use tofu. So tofu, this one is extra firm. You have different kinds. You have silken, you have firm, you have extra firm. And the good thing about this is you can get like the texture of the feta cheese. And I'm gonna cut it in little cubes. And the good thing about this is gonna be also adding protein to my avocado toast.
Can I ask you a question? Does it have to be cooked? Tofu?
And not necessarily, like it's a acquired taste. So at the beginning, tofu doesn't taste as anything. So I can eat it raw like that, and I don't mind. I have a lot of time doing this, but if you're new into this, you can either seasoning this ahead, like marinate it with what's the name? Apple cider vinegar, a little bit of oregano, a little bit of salt, and then marinate that, and then put it in your salad or in whatever dish you're gonna do with tofu. So.
I'm just going to emphasize what Chef Ifra is saying is that tofu is known for taking on the flavors and tastes of anything else that you're cooking it with. So It's very versatile in that
Yeah.
sense.
And inexpensive.
Inexpensive, and it's a really good source of protein. Like you can have 9 grams of protein in I think 3 grams or something like that of tofu. So I'm gonna put my tofu, and then we're gonna use cherry tomatoes.
And so you were saying that in the DR, this would not be the way you grew up making it?
No, I grew up making it like just like pan de agua or white bread. It looks like a baguette, like the texture. So you do just pan de agua and avocado. And this is like something like everyone does in Dominican Republic, like from the poor to the rich, like we do avocado. And I remember the first time I came here and I saw in a restaurant avocado toast. And I was like, oh my God, and I'm paying all this amount of dollar for this. So, but yeah, it's just bread, avocado, and some people put onions and other people put eggs, like either scrambled eggs or sunny side.
Yeah. Yeah, I love the way you're mixing, from different cultures.
Yes. So to this, I'm gonna add like the seasoning. As I told you, you can season the tofu first and keep it marinated. But in this case, I don't mind. So I'm putting my this is apple cider vinegar, and I'm gonna put. Oh, sorry, I missed the cucumber. If you go to a Greek restaurant and you ask for Greek salad, this is what you get: cucumber, tomato, feta cheese, and onions. So I'm gonna cut my cucumber in cubes. So first I put it like in julienne, like juliana, and then I go little cubes.
Yeah, and while you're cutting, I just want to ask the audience to think about like food memories. I think a lot of us have deep memories of childhood foods that sort of stay with us. And it's interesting to think about the memory, but also, do you actually still make that thing, or do you just sort of pine away at it, in your memories?
Yes,
So just things to think about, keeping it
exactly.
to yourself or sharing it, if you want to share thoughts or comments about that, feel free to come off mute and share some food memories from childhood.
So I'm just putting apple cider vinegar, salt, and pepper. That's the seasoning.
And while Chef Ifra is doing that, I'll add to what Deborah said, which is, food is such an important part of culture. And as the chef has said, that traditional cuisine is passed down from one generation to the next. And it also operates as an expression of cultural identity, right? And immigrants bring the food of their countries with them wherever they go. And cooking traditional food is a way to preserve culture when they move to a new place. But as Ifra is sharing, sometimes things get changed or adapted or adjusted or affected by the new culture that they're living in. And both are kind of a beautiful and true. And I feel like that sort of ties together how we started this evening. Deborah was mentioning that holding on to food traditions is a kind of act of resistance. And we can also say that incorporating other elements from other cultures is also a way to kind of integrate and be part of the new culture that you're living in. And both can be true at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so I'm putting my avocado. So just put it in the half, then you remove the seed. And this one has a little brown here that I'm gonna remove. The recipe called for half an avocado, but I'm gonna do a whole one because it's really small. And this is Mexican avocado. In Dominican Republic, we don't have this one. We have the big ones, and they are a little bit sweet. So like with one of those, you definitely need half an avocado. With this one, is fine. And the good thing about avocado is it's a source of good fat. And if you having a whole food plant-based lifestyle, and this is a way to get fat in your food, like either avocado, coconut, olive. Those are the main source of, and nuts, the main source of fat in my kitchen. And the fat that the avocado has is mostly monounsaturated, and polyunsaturated, so it doesn't have cholesterol. So it's really good. I'm gonna smash the avocado, but you don't want to be like too soft. You want to keep like some part of olive. I'm gonna do it with a fork.
I'm gonna jump in and share a food memory that just came to me while you were talking about the avocados. I remember when I was a young teenager, I guess avocados became more available where I lived, and I got really into them, and I took it to my grandparents' house, and my grandfather refused to taste it. He had never seen it, never heard of it, didn't want any part of it. And, you know, he was so adamant, and he was so adamant not to taste it. My grandmother tasted it and loved it. And then it was in every salad she made after that. But like, he never wanted to, you know, he was so hesitant, you know, and kind of like, no, I will not eat that. You know, it just looks so odd to him. It's just interesting to think about, you know, that food can really help you to open up, you know, in other ways when you choose to explore, you know, you may choose to explore in other avenues. So, yeah.
And well, and I know a lot of people, even Dominicans, that don't like avocado, and people
Really?
find that like so like weird, like, what, you don't like avocado? So this is the way it looks. You see, it's not too compact, but it has a little bit of
Texture.
yeah, texture. That's my husband thing. He like texture. So I'm gonna put my salad on top, and then because we here don't use a lot of salt or in our kitchen. So if you taste it and you know, you put your salt the way you like it. So this is the first one. This one, I can put a little bit of oregano on top. I like oregano. And if you like garlic, I also can put a little bit of ground garlic, so garlic powder there. So this is the first one.
Looks delicious.
I
Can we
know my
come-
mouth is, I wish there was smell-o-vision and eat a Zoom so we can eat it.
Well, yeah, well, when I do cooking demos in person, the people can taste the food is really good. Like, so let's do the other one. So I'm gonna put this in the fridge. Give me 1 minute because I don't want it to get.
And again, if anybody, I know there are a few people on, if anybody wants to jump in and, you know, share food memories, feel free, or put it in the chat. We'd love to hear from you.
Okay. So the second one is Mexican taste avocado. So when I moved here, I tried Mexican food. So, and I fell in love with like the way they cook, like everything looks so fresh. They use a lot of like fresh ingredients. So this is a staple in my house. Like this, I made this as a salad and we love it. So this is black beans. If you buy the can, you just wash it and remove all the liquid. And I'm gonna put corn. This is sweet corn. This one is frozen, but if you know, now I think now in summer, we can have like the whole corn. So you can buy it and then do it fresh. It's really good, but this is fine as well.
Yeah. And a lot of people don't realize you can just take the corn off the cob without even cooking it and put it in the salad, right?
Put it in the salad.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna put this, and then again, onions. If you have peppers and you want to make the salad more colorful, you can use the peppers, the red, the orange, and that's also nice. You can add that. To this, I'm gonna add Roma tomatoes. You know, Mexicans, they have the pico de gallo. So it's like Roma tomato with onions and cilantro and lemon. So we're gonna do like a version of that, but we're gonna put it inside the salad. We already put the onions, and now we're gonna do the tomatoes.
So I have a question, Ifra. If somebody is not able to do this when they get home from work and wants to do all the chopping to make this in the morning and then have it come home to it and put it all together pre-chopped, is that fine?
It's fine. Yeah, I do majority of the time. I prep Sundays. I cook all the rice or the wheat. I cook. I wash all my vegetables, and I have everything cooked in my fridge, so you don't have any problem with that. The only thing is, like, you know, carrots and celery. Sometimes they get like I don't know the name in English. Like
They wilt.
yeah. So what I do is I put those in water. So if you cook them, put it in water in a mason jar or, you know, Tupperware, and keep it then in cold water until you're gonna use them.
So do you actually cut up your vegetables for the week on Sunday? 'Cause
Yes.
I've been trying to do this too, to
Yes, it's
cut
easy.
down on the chaos in my life. So I'm trying to food prep, but I'm noticing that like the fresh vegetable part is still, I have to do.
Oh yeah, like we eat a lot of fresh vegetable, and now in summer is like the one thing in my house. It's easier because you don't have to use the stove, and you know, summer hot, so we do a lot of things like this, like easy to do, eat, and I cook the rice in the rice cooker for the whole week, and also the pasta if I'm gonna do pasta during the. So we have here our ingredients, and to that I'm gonna add salt, pepper. I really like to add to this cumin and paprika. Those are flavors that are new to me. Like I discovered this maybe 2014. You know, as Dominican, we cook a lot with sopita. So we put like, it's like chicken bourguignon, I don't know the name, but bourguignon. We put that in every dish. So everything tastes the same. So when I started to eat whole food plant-based, I wanted, you know, I didn't want to use that, and also all the chemicals that sopita has. So I started to use spices, and I bought a book and I learned about them. And these two are like one of my favorites. So cumin, I'm gonna put cumin. You can leave it like that and squeeze a lemon here. So I'm gonna do that. But also I like to put cumin and paprika. I think the flavor is amazing. If you want this to be more like protein dense, you also can cook quinoa and put like a cup of quinoa there, and that's just like a dinner or lunch. Yeah. I'm gonna put a little bit of cumin. I really like this, and paprika. If you like spicy, you can use chili powder, or if you like jalapeno, you just cut a little bit of jalapeno and throw it there. I have some chive here that I want. Cilantro. I have cilantro here. I already cooked. Cut.
I guess as you're mixing things, I'll ask you and Gail and anyone else is thinking about kind of.
Wow, look at that. Beautiful.
Oh, that's beautiful. You're kind of.
I have a question.
Oh, sure.
Did you say that you cooked the cilantro first?
No, I cut it.
You
like-
just chopped it. You didn't cook it.
Yeah,
Okay.
chop. Yeah,
I
that's the word.
misunderstood.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
I guess for everyone kind of you're both, connected obviously professionally with food and sort of like your experiences, with your family and your family food traditions. Is there a connection? Was it kind of because of the abundance? Sometimes it's because it was so abundant in your life, or for other people, it was lacking and they sought it out professionally. Or anything you want to share about kind of the impetus for what you are both doing professionally in terms of food and food culture?
Chef Ifer, are you able to answer that?
Oh yeah, but you can start. I don't know, like for me, it's not the abundance. Like it's mostly, I really enjoy the recipes that I grew up with, like with my mom. So it's just taking that part of me and make it more healthy, because now in my family we have a lot of health issues. And as Gail read, I didn't want to be part of those health issues. So for me, food was kind of, okay, medicine, but also how can I incorporate this in, my ancestors, because our ancestral, that this is the way they ate. So for me, it's part of that. It's like, and that's what I do. Like I fell in love. I'm super healthy. And I have worked with people who were like having high cholesterol, having diabetes type 2. And once they incorporate like healthy eating and mostly plant-based, you can see like how they get better. So that's for me, my mission, and why I'm doing this.
Yes, beautiful.
Wonderful. That's wonderful.
Well, it's amazing how different people can get to the same place from different roads, right? I was very fortunate to be raised with access to green space, and I've always really loved to garden, and especially to grow my own food, and then later to cook delicious plant-based meals for myself and my family and my community. And for me, there's really nothing more delicious than a freshly picked tomato, cucumber, or green bean. And I have a lot more to say on the topic of why this is so important in the Bronx, but I think I'll save that for later.
Okay.
So this is the second one here.
Oh my
Oh,
goodness.
you can see it. This is a mess. I need to buy a bigger.
We just have someone sharing in the chat. Oksana said that same here, Ifra. I can relate with the wholeness and healthy foods daily, not to prevent illness and inherit diseases, but for my own well-being, and also reading and learning about what I consume. Thank you for sharing. So thank you for commenting.
Oh, thank you for sharing. Like, you feel very different when you started to incorporate more whole plants. Like you get more energy, your mood change, inflammation. So I think that's why I'm still doing this, and I'm super happy when I can teach like my people, when I say, my Latinx community, how to eat better. Because in my country, we eat a lot of fried stuff. We eat a lot of processed food. So for me, bringing this to our people with ingredients that are affordable, because you can buy rice, beans, you can buy tofu, it's affordable stuff, making like healthy is like, oh, I'm happy. So I'm waiting for the bread, and we're gonna do the last one. And this is like more like fancy, like balsamic tomato avocado toast. It's very simple. You can do it with balsamic vinegar. This is balsamic. Oh, this is not quite. I don't have balsamic vinegar in my house. Sorry, because I have this. You have to do balsamic vinegar in reduction. What's that mean? That you can put the balsamic vinegar in a pan and keep it there like moving, mixing until you have this consistency. Let me show you the consistency. It's not like as liquid, it's more, oh, this is in here. Let me go to the camera. This is the consistency. It's not liquid, it's like, you know.
The syrup.
Yes. So that's the consistency you want to get when you do the reduction. It's just balsamic vinegar in a pan, mix it until you get this texture. But I already buy it like this, and I think Trader Joe's had it. It's not expensive. And I have my bread. And let's do this. Sorry, my son is here now from school. So I'm gonna put
So
my-
someone else, Ifra put in the chat from Brianna, how do you recommend someone to start on their journey towards plant-based and healthy eating? And I was thinking something along the same lines. I was thinking the same question, but specifically in the Bronx, knowing that some areas of the Bronx have, you know, are sort of food deserts and don't have access to such large amounts of fresh vegetables and variety.
Okay, I will recommend starting with things that in your culture, you know, that are plant-based. Let's say eggplants, rice, bean. Instead, well, I recommend instead of doing a white rice all the time, trying to do brown rice. Sometimes I teach people how to incorporate other grains like quinoa or how you say wheat, and do other you know, other recipe like similar to the way they eat. So that's the first step, like the things that you know are accessible to you that are plant-based, just start with that and start doing either like breakfast or lunch. You don't have to do like the whole day, you know, in one day.
Yes.
I think it's a journey and it's very slow process. I know people that I can do it like from today to tomorrow, like change. For me, it took me 1 year to, you know, reduce the amount of meat that I was eating and put more vegetables in my plate. I was picky eater. So it took me, you know, time. And I work with a lot of organizations that do cooking demonstration in the Bronx, and I work with a lot of Latinos who live in the Bronx, and that's the first things. We go shopping in their own supermarket to, you know, to find out like which products they can buy that are more healthy.
Yeah.
So we can start with that, and then just education, you know, education, and I think that's, I don't know if Gail has anything to add.
Yeah, well, I think you said it beautifully. And I think coming to events like this and learning how to make delicious plant-based healthy food using vegetables maybe that you're not familiar with is very empowering. And certainly learning how to shop and where to find some of the things that, you know, may be new to your cooking style or the recipes you're trying to make is also really important. And I really want to emphasize what Ifra said, that, you know, you don't have to be perfect about this. There's no perfection. There's just, you know, changing up one meal. You said, you know, maybe eating a different kind of breakfast, maybe making, you know, once or twice a week or 3 times a week, you know, taking meat out of your dinner. So the idea is baby steps. You know, if you get super inspired, then you can get more extreme, but I think it's less intimidating to feel like as you learn, you grow, right? As Maya Angelou said, the more you know, the more you do, right?
Yes.
The more education you get, as you said so beautifully, Ifra, the more you can change things up.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The other thing I was thinking about is, you know, just knowing, aside from stores, you know, other sources of food, right? Community supported agriculture. So like CSAs that you might not even realize, you know, are in your neighborhood, and there are websites, if you Google CSAs near me, that, you know. And the other thing is, you know, community gardens. There are community gardens throughout the Bronx, and we're getting into the season where, you know, you could volunteer, maybe get you know, different ones work different ways, but just, you know, thinking about reaching out in that way too, possibly, of like, how can I get involved, but also how can I actually
obtain vegetables in a different way other than from, my local store. And then
Absolutely.
I have to say this because it's in a current exhibition where I work at Lehman College Art Gallery, about foraging. So I don't recommend foraging on your own if you don't know what you're doing, but that is a whole nother movement, like kind of like beyond local, even more local, is thinking about or getting educated about literally plants and, things that are growing within your neighborhood, but safely, of course.
Yeah. Yeah,
Beautiful.
I know a couple of organizations in the Bronx that are doing like hydroponic. I know, Grow New York also has like really cheap like vegetables, and they take like the healthy box. So you like when I do classes, I try to bring all the information.
Resources, that's
The
great.
people, yes. And I think you see, easy breezy.
Oh my God,
This is the way
wow,
it looks. I'm
beautiful.
gonna bring everything to the near the camera, so you can see
Wow.
how it looks.
So beautiful.
Unreal. So beautiful. Wow.
Like that.
So beautiful.
And
Well,
so packed full of protein.
Yes. Like the bread has protein. Everything has protein, because that was something that everyone was asking me when I changed on my diet. Like, oh, what about the protein? I think we are so hooked with the animal protein. Every vegetable has protein. Protein is amino acid, and that's the whole amino acid chain. Like all the vegetable has those amino acids.
Yep.
But they have it in different quantity. Let's say the tofu has a lot of, protein, but the broccoli has protein, but also has carb and has, fat. So it's different amounts, but all of them has. And the thing about protein is we have a pool of protein in our body that every time we eat, it's just adding things in that pool, and then when the body needs whatever essential protein, essential amino acid, so it got it from that pool. So I do weightlifting. I've been eating no animal since 2012, and never has been protein deficient, never has had like iron deficient, anything. So
I just want to say thank you so much. It looks great. And I know that you're a big inspiration to so many people watching this. And I want to just remind people that one of the things that inspired Ifra, which she mentioned at the beginning, is this movie Forks Over Knives. So if you're interested in watching that or learning more about other resources and movies in particular about plant-based eating, you can go to the Bronx Eats website and look under resources, and you will see many movies listed there, including Forks Over Knives. And that will continue to give you inspiration beyond just this evening. So thank you again. We really appreciate all of your beautiful cooking and all of your wisdom. And we're going to move on to the next part of the evening.
Yeah, so we're eating right now. If you were cooking along, munch away. And I guess just opening it up to more, questions, thoughts about kind of like, how are you feeling? Does this seem attainable? Sort of like, what are you thinking for next steps for you to incorporate this into your work? But also, many of you out there might be artists as well, and thinking about how might I incorporate, my kind of food culture into my own artwork. So I'm just interested to hear if anybody wants to share. And, we know some people want to put it in the chat. That's great. And thank you to Lena. Lena had to leave. She said she had to go, but thank you. It looks great. And anybody else, and any of our staff people, if you want to share a food memory or kind of like, what are you inspired to do? I'm sort of inspired to make one of those, like I and marinating tofu, I have not done that. I have to do that. I love tofu. I make a lot of tofu, but I think that's my next step, to make the first recipe, I think, that we saw.
Beautiful.
Anybody want to share?
I actually have a question.
Sure.
Well, let me start my video. So you mentioned, right, you're from Dominican Republic. So I just want to like the transition of, let me try to condense it. So I know like you're used to eating fresh, right? I would imagine. I've been to DR myself and I feel like their cuisine or the ingredients that they use, it's, obviously different. I feel like everything in America is in a box or in a bag. It's processed, not necessarily the healthiest. And I get into these conversations with my boyfriend. So he's from Colombia and he's always like, well, it's just like such a difference in culture. And he's very shocked, even being a citizen here for 20 years, he's still shocked with how everything's not fresh. So I just want to know, like, was that shocking to you, or did you have a hard time transitioning, being that you're from the island and then you're here and everything is just in a can or a box?
So yeah, it was a little bit shocking, like how everything is like fast. Like you go to the supermarket and you have all this frozen meal and all these things. Everything is fast. It was shock, but also when I moved to the state, my country was in this transition that we were having McDonald's, we were having all these corporations in our country, and people were like fascinated about that, like. It's a business, so they made this hamburger taste amazing for people. So I came from that to here, but here it was like bigger. So, but the thing is like that. I think because I was in the middle of the transition, I didn't got hooked like into McDonald's or into all this packaged food. I came here, I got to know more people, their culture, and then when they invite me to their house or restaurants to try their food, it was fresh food. It was like, vegetables. It was tofu. It was Mexican. So I think that was like the way I started to, instead of go to McDonald's and, all these things, I went to another direction. So that was easier for me to transition, but I was picky eater and I used to eat a lot of meat. That was the only thing I eat. Vegetables, no way. So it was a process when I moved here, and then eating just vegetables, it was another process. And I think you just need to have the mindset and the motivation. I think after I watched the documentary, I had the motivation. I was like, okay, I want to be healthy. I already was having like high cholesterol. I'm skinny, so I was fat skinny at that time. I was having issues like constipation, acne. So when I transitioned, everything went away. So, and after you have all that, you don't want to go back. That's the thing. That's what I feel.
Yeah, that's really interesting. The question I had was sort of for both of you is, I mean, we've talked about how you're carrying this on professionally, but maybe you could share personally in your own lives with your own families and friends. How are you sort of keeping that connection to ancestry and culture and kind of in real time, like right now, in the way you're living? And you talked about this a little bit, but maybe more specifically, more, personally, your kind of practices as a family.
Gail, are you gonna answer that?
Yeah, well, I can answer that, but I'm kind of interested. I just want to pick up on where you left off. You made this comment about coming and Deborah asked the question about, or somebody asked the question about, the processed foods and coming to America and the Colombian boyfriend being surprised that everything's boxed. So I wanted to kind of follow up on that and share my own story that while I was working for Corbin Hill Food Project and providing affordable fruits and vegetables to the greater Lehman College community, I noticed that some people were just not interested in buying and eating fresh produce. And So I didn't really understand that at first because, we know that diet-related diseases they actually cause more deaths every year than all American fatalities from war combined. So that's kind of an amazing fact to think about. More people die from diet-related diseases than all wars combined every single year. So it got me really thinking that, we know that eating fruits and vegetables is the best medicine of all, and that consuming healthy, real food instead of processed foods strengthens our bodies and our immune systems and our moods. And we know that it's critical to preventing and even reversing many chronic diseases, heart disease, diabetes, obesity. So the question really is what's going on, right? And the answer is many things are going on. And as we've already mentioned, processed foods are often the only affordable option, right? And one of the reasons for that is because they're very heavily subsidized by the government. And if you're living in poverty, then purchasing processed foods which are cheaper makes a lot of sense. And another trend that is unfortunately not new is that fast food chains and corporations that produce processed foods, they disproportionately target their advertising to children of color and their families. So that ends up resulting in an epidemic of childhood obesity and diabetes, similar to what Ifra was sharing about her own health journey and her own family. The industries are spending $1.8 billion on the food and beverage industry, spends $1.8 billion every single year on advertising to low-income people of color. So in other words, there are a lot of forces against eating a healthier, more nourishing diet, especially in communities of color. So, it is admirable and amazing and so important to be eating in this way, the way that Ifra showed us this evening. But there's a lot of forces that are pushing people in the opposite direction. So I'll end with just saying, I asked myself what I could do to empower Bronx residents to reclaim their health and learn how to make better food choices by learning in community like this, online or in person, right, with each other about traditions that we know and love, and learning from local talented chefs like Chef Ifra. So that's how Bronx Eats really was started. And that's really the reason that I'm here, is that it's actually very politically motivated by the things that really you have been talking about. And I think that inspiring plant-based, culturally appropriate cooking classes by local chefs can be a very important way to motivate people to cook and eat a more whole foods, plant-based diet. And it can also be very fun, right? We just saw the results of a beautiful half an hour and everybody wants to eat it. So Bronx Eats is a way to show people that healthier eating and living is not out of reach. And we can do it step by step, just like Ifra said. Cooking education has a huge ripple effect, not only on the individuals who come to the cooking demos, but their families, communities, and the planet. So I hope you'll join us for future classes and join the mailing list, bronxeats.org. I think what Chef Ifra is demonstrating tonight is just really at the center of our health, feeling good, feeling able to live healthy lives, and feeling able to live long lives. So thank you so much for asking the question, and for everybody who came tonight. I hope you've been inspired to eat real food. And with that, I'll pass it back to you, Debbie.
Sure. Wonderful. I mean, I'm very inspired, Gail, personally, and just, as a, someone in the community, in the arts community, to kind of incorporate this kind of programming into arts endeavors. And Chef Ifra, I don't know if you want to share anything else. I saw it was almost like you did an action of my answer to my question, because I said, personally, how do you do this? And as you handed a plate and I saw a little hand pop out. So I said, oh, that's the answer. But obviously, right, in your cooking. But is there something, more, you could speak to about that?
Yeah, like, the way my mom passed it to me, which is like the way she knew at that moment, I'm the same way I'm passing this to my kid, but in more like healthy way. So my son is 7 years old. He's also plant-based. And he eat the food that I prepare every day, and my husband as well, and he transitioned as well. And that's what we do every day. And I think that's something families should consider. Like my son see me every day cooking. You know, I have the opportunity that I can cook like every day, because I know some people doesn't have the time, but I have the time, so I can do that. And he sees me, he comes to the kitchen and help me. Like yesterday, he prepared pasta by himself. So with 7 years old, I'm just around here with him in the kitchen, and make this connection to the real food. I think, I don't know, you know, at the end, like it's gonna get an impact in him, like when he's grown up. So that's one of the scene. And when I do this cooking demo in person, also people having all these questions, because I think we don't know how to eat vegetables. Like I remember when my mom used to do vegetables, like the broccoli very soggy, and you know, it wasn't good. And I remember when I moved here and I tried Indian food, like they cook, majority of them are vegetarian, and they cook their vegetables amazingly good. I was like, wow, I was missing all that thing. So for me, showing people that there is another way that you can prepare, like the habichuelas, like the beans, or let's try the tofu, because sometimes people don't like the tofu because they didn't try it in a good way. So maybe let's try this recipe and maybe you're gonna like it. And oh, they don't know how to prepare, so I can teach them like how to do it. And for me, this is like, oh, como dice, like Dominicans say, estoy paga. I don't know, yeah, like I'm happy with that.
Yeah.
And my son is here. I'm so sorry, like he wants to be here.
Hey there.
Welcome.
Yeah, and also I think it's important what you're saying, Ifra, that you can both retain your cultural identity and you can adapt it. And so in a way, that's an invitation to everybody to, you know, we all have our cultural identities. We're all, you know, have a relationship to food. Everybody eats. And, you know, when you become part of a diaspora, you're separated from the original place, and there are going to be adaptations, and there are going to be influences from other places, and all of that is part of the story, and all of that is beautiful. So I just so appreciate what you're sharing with us tonight, and I hope that it kind of opens the door for people to feel ready to create and experiment and try new things and adapt to new, you know, new ways of doing things.
Yeah, and that's a wonderful kind of way to close a little bit, and then we'll leave, you know, if anyone has any questions. But you know, the artists in this show, you know, it's uniquely their own narrative, because they're doing exactly what Gail said, is that they're taking their ancestry and making it their own, you know, for their life in the diaspora and for how they're living, and interpreting it that way. So and it can often be very healing, right, emotionally, but we were talking so much about healing, you know, medically, like real, you know, disease issues. So really interesting connections, right, between the two. So let's give everyone a last chance. If anybody wants to come in on the chat or come off, if anybody wanted to share any closing thoughts or questions for Gail or Chef Ifra.
I have a two-part question. So I just want to know if you, since you're adapting to eating plant-based, have you had any pushback from your family? And if so, how do you deal with it? So like me, I don't eat red meat. My diet's primarily, I guess you could say pescatarian. I eat a lot of fish. So I was always the one at like the family dinner or the holiday party that didn't eat benin. Like I just never liked pork. And it's not for any religious reasons. I just never did. And I don't know if it's like a Latino thing, but it's like you get heavily criticized if you don't like eat the typical foods that like your parents or grandparents grew up with. Like, so I don't know, like if you ever had pushback, and if so, how do you deal with that?
Love that question.
Thank you.
Definitely not just a Latino thing.
Wow, it's a great question. Like yes, you have a lot of like criticism. You have a lot of like, oh, Ivory's coming. I don't know what she's gonna eat, or they don't know how to prepare food for me because they don't know. They've been eating meat or, eating certain way for so long that they don't know how to adapt. And that's the case, they say my mom, or like when I go there, she cook fish and I'm like, Mama, I don't eat meat. Oh, but it's fish. And I'm like, it's meat, it's like, it's for an animal. I don't need that. But I think at the beginning, it was very like every like Christmas, every time we got together, it was an issue and was very stressing for me. Because I have to explain myself all over. I have to bring my food most of the time. But then, I just understand I have, compassion for them and for me. And it's my journey. And every time I explain to them, and now that I've been so long in this lifestyle, they get it and they can see the results. And some of them are even doing like now, like, oh, I'm doing less meat now because you don't eat meat, and I can see you thriving. Or I see, and with me, my son doesn't eat meat, but when we go to Dominican Republic, my mom and my mother-in-law want to give them every time. You want chicken? You need to eat chicken. You're too skinny. So, sometimes it's like, oh, but it's hard, but I just try to, navigate, set boundaries, limits with my family. And I think right now we are in the moment that they understand and they are happy, and they just tell me, look, I don't know how to prepare something for you. Can you bring the food? And I just bring it and they eat it with me, and we share now together. At the beginning, it was more like pushback, criticism, and but right now we are in a good phase.
Great. Great.
Well,
The
thank
other thing I think that to think about is sort of the medical establishment, right? In terms of the political, but just on a, just like your family might criticize, your pediatrician or your children might not be aware, your own, general practitioner might not be aware of like how you can be healthy and be plant-based, and they can have a lot of anxiety about it and kind of transmit that. I've definitely experienced that, and know other people have experienced that. So it's another thing to be aware of, and needing to be educated about it, and like you're both doing, educate others.
Yeah, I think education is key. Like more than about eating healthy, I think you empower yourself, and also people around you also get the message. So, and when I started eating like this, I went to the doctor and I told him and he do my annual, and after that, he just told me, oh, you just need vitamin B12 because that's, people who doesn't eat meat need to eat that. And that was the only thing. So thank God, he was very aware, and he didn't criticize me. And also my pediatrician, like I told him, look, he won't eat meat or milk. And he understood, and he just, follow up, and, they grow chart and see like everything is fine, and that's it.
Yeah, that's great. Great. So anybody else out there, questions or comments? So I guess we can just checking. Just thank everyone. Thank you, Gail, and thank you, Chef Ifra, and Bronx Council on the Arts, Lizzie, and Viviana for making this all possible. I hope we inspired you. I know I'm inspired. I hope everyone else is inspired. And I'm gonna check out Bronx Eats and come to some more events. Gotta learn some more.
Great. Sounds great. I want to thank Lizzie and Deborah so much for this beautiful evening and partnership. It really is great to bring together two different communities that may not have met each other. And I hope this is the beginning of many other partnerships. And here's to eating healthy, real food, and continuing on our food journeys, and connecting with our cultures in healthy ways and coming together to enjoy it all together.
I just want to say thank you, Gail, Deborah, Ifra. This was amazing. Lizzie, I know that you work very hard. Brianna, who's behind the camera,
Oh, Brianna.
doing
okay.
live. And for more, now I want to go and buy an avocado. And
Thank you.
so
Thank
much.
you all.
My son wants to say so.
I really do.
So I tried the
Mediterranean.
the Mediterranean
Mediterranean one.
this one
Yes.
and it was so good. I really liked it.
So you know now.
Okay,
Now we
5
have the
stars.
official review.
5 stars.
5 stars.
No bias.
Next time, we're all coming for dinner, Ifra.
Yes.
Okay, thank you again. And
you.
everybody have a beautiful evening and hope we get to see each other soon. Stay healthy, eat real food, and check out bronxeats.org.
Bye, everyone.
Well, good night, everyone.